weren't aware of it and look at the lessons that they learned. So if we decide to bomb, quote, Moscow, i.e., civilian populations, I am pretty certain that the end result will be a dramatic escalation in national aggression. The people will demand national aggression and will not demand peace because a couple of apartment buildings got blown up. In other words, if you try to piss off the Russians, be very careful. The Russian people, be very careful, because look at the historical and I believe still current capacity for them to endure suffering, far more than what this nation is capable of doing. The second point that I want to make is, first of all, Tam, Dominic, Steve, even David David usually, well, David and I don't always agree geopolitically, but, basically they're saying, it's time to stand up. And you used a word, and I was flashing thumbs up to Dominic when he was starting to talk about America as a chicken. And I thought, holy cow, that's good. But you used the word pussified, Gary. That Dominic.
No, he didn't use it. That was my word. You're exactly right.
Yeah, but in your pretty long discussion with Tam about the influence of foreign actors is the thing that's dominating, is causing people to think that America is weaker, etc. I don't agree with that. I believe that America today is an overfed, oversexed, indulgent, pussified society because of the nature of our desire to have all the things that we have, and we're not willing to fight in order to preserve that which we have as a national society, as opposed to look at what America did to unite and endure during World War II. And even the way when we do fight now is reflected in that in our military doctrine. You talked about the 1960s. Obviously, you and I were alive and well and enduring all that. And I'm not trying to refight the Vietnam War or anything like that. But in the Vietnam War, we lost 58,000 killed, men mostly killed on the battlefield in Vietnam. In a 20-year war in Iraq and Afghanistan, how many American men and, women were killed on the battlefield during combat? Not 58,000 over 20 years. It was about 5,000 to 6,000 in both wars, combat deaths to American military personnel. Now, you can credit some of that to advanced medicine and all that kind of stuff. But that reflects the way we tried to win a war without the courage to storm the bastions of the enemy. It affects our rules of engagement in the way we have tried to fight wars since World War II. The rules of engagement that have become so stultifying for the ability of the American military to do its job to win a war. I think that, and I believe the inflection point for that happening was probably very close to the time that the Soviet Union collapsed. And very specifically, I would point out that one of the greatest detriments to the American Navy's ability to fight and train, fight, and win, the process began, and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this one. The process began in 1992. You know what happened in 1992? Tailhook. Now, I am not going to forgive, I'm not going to make excuses for the sexual behavior of the American military. But the influences of tailhook have become pervasive across the United States Navy. And I'm going to a reunion in 2 weeks with a classmate of mine, a retired 4-star, that led the tailhook investigation. And everything that resulted from that investigation, the sum total was to weaken the American Navy's ability to fight and win, train, fight, and win a war. And I believe that that downward trend in America is internal and caused by the nature of our society today far more than any influence that Russia, China, etc. can influence us on the internet or however. We're doing it to ourselves. We have a chance to follow the lead of Israel, and Ukraine should be the battlefield in which we reverse that trend. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to get into a long dissertation from either of us about this, but I would really like to understand better how the tail hook changed the Navy to such a point that it's ineffective. I would have hoped that it would have changed.
Significantly degraded the effectiveness of the Navy. It began with tailhook alone didn't cause it. It began. That was the inflection point. If you look at how the Navy trained and operated prior to tailhook, and you look at how the Navy trained, operated today, that was the inflection point, that we started on a downhill path for social reasons. But that's a long discussion, but I'm not saying that tailhook alone caused it. I'm saying that was the inflection point that began the downhill trend in naval readiness and ability to train, fight, and win a war.
Look, you've got the first-hand knowledge of this. I don't, and but I can't comprehend how that might be. We don't have time to talk about it, but I'd love for you to explain to you. Send me emails before. When you get a chance, send me an email and explain it to me, because I don't understand how fighting sexual impropriety within the ranks results in an ultimate degrading of the training of the troops. I don't get that, but you will be able to explain that to me better. By the way, to your point, Anson, about this being an over-sexualized society, I guess I've been missing out. I must not be in the crowd of society.
I forgot all that shit about 20 years ago, Gary.
Jeez, I want to see what I'm missing. I want to be with the in crowd, baby.
Well,
Steve,
I know what I was like back in the 60s and 70s too, and you do too for yourself, probably.
I might. Steve, you get the last word.
Yeah, Gary. The oldest military installation in the state I live in, my great-grandfather, 6th generation removed, was the first commander. He fought in the Revolutionary War. He knew what he was fighting for. I had a great uncle that fought in D-Day, fought till he was so tired he couldn't even pull his rifle up, and was shot and took, I don't know how long to recover from. He knew what what he was fighting for. I had a son that went to Iraq that is no longer with me. I don't know what he was fighting for. I don't know what he fought for there. Someone please tell me. And now we're talking about this. We're talking about this kind of stuff here. And someone mentioned national security of the United States. You tell me what the national security of the United States is.
National interest. Maybe it's the
National
same thing.
interest. Tell me the national interest. Tell me what it is. Tell me the national interest in Ukraine. Taiwan, they make their chips. It goes in everything. There's a national interest there. But the idea that somehow we've lost our bravery because we're not willing to spend blood on a battlefield where the United States national security interest is not at stake. Like I say, my great-grandfather, he knew what the interest was. He's in the Revolutionary War. He fought under George Washington. My great-uncle, when he laid in that mud after being shot by a German soldier, he knew what his national interest was. My son didn't know what his national interest was. He told me the contractors was over there making a ton of money and he was getting bullets shot at him. So before someone starts saying we've lost our will, maybe we haven't lost our will, maybe we haven't lost our bravery, maybe we just don't want to spill blood for some political purpose. And I'll leave it there.
So, Steve, I hear what you're saying, and I empathize, as you well know, with your situation and the sacrifice your family has given as a result of all this. I get all that. But I don't know what the argument has to do with the discussion of tomahawk weapons. I have not yet heard anybody suggest that we put boots on the ground anywhere unless you are suggesting that this is a slippery slope and this is the beginning of that slope.
Well, it possibly could be. When I hear these words like national interest, we've lost our will to fight. We've lost our courage to fight. My great-grandfather didn't lose any courage. He knew why he's fighting. My great-uncle knew why he's fighting. My son's seen a bunch of contractors running around Iraq making all kind of money for Halliburton and Dick Cheney. He didn't know why he's fighting. And the idea that we're getting pulled into something, this is a European matter. And we're getting pulled into something and being told, well, you don't have the courage. Well, my son had courage. My great-grandfather had courage. But my great-grandfather had righteous courage. He didn't have misplaced courage. And people need to think about this.
I don't know whether Anson, okay, there you are, Anson. Could you clarify your position and see whether it's in alignment with what Steve is saying or whether it's being misunderstood?
There are countless Americans that have the bravery to do the next right thing. There are countless Americans that are willing to spill their own blood to protect and defend this nation. What I'm trying to address, Steve, is what my perception of the national psychic is. And I'm going to use a word that Gary hates and will claim he doesn't understand. America has become far too woke. And to be able to explain that, I couldn't get it into an email, that's for sure. But this whole malaise of we are not. Can you imagine, Steve, if Biden had implemented, and I've read a book where they considered implementing sanctions against Russian oil, the consequence of which would have been $6 or $7 a gallon gas in the U.S.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
And for that reason alone, they withheld that level of sanctions. And in fact, they even drew down on the strategic reserve so that Americans the pussified American psychic didn't have to see gas gallons going up 50 cents a gallon. And that's chicken shit politics. And that's the thing that it just really boils my guts. It's time for us, you and I can put our rifles on our shoulders and we would march off and protect and defend. And I don't denigrate that attitude, and there is a substantial amount of that. But the national psychic, Dominic called it, I loved it when he said, yeah, she was a hawk, she was a chicken hawk. Even our hawks are chicken hawks. And we've been pussified as a nation through our own indulgence. And until we figure out a way to be able to endure some suffering as a nation in order to fight and win the wars that deserve to be fought and won, then we're going to continue down on the downhill path. Thanks,
I can agree with that.
Thanks, Gary, for giving me the opportunity to try to have that brief discussion with my very, very good friend and man that I deeply respect, Steve. Steve and I are on the same boat, and neither one of us likes pussies.
Yeah, I'm with you, Anson. Yeah.
And that comment alone will get me in all kinds of trouble, I'm sure.
Well, thanks, Gary, for indulging us, and thank you, Anson.
Well, I wanted to clear it up because I wasn't certain that you guys were on the same wavelength on that issue, and I didn't want us to close without that being resolved. Folks, we're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time, so until 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow. For the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum, everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
Republicans are going to lose this narrative so hard. It's the reason. I doubt it.
So Omari, you guys are
ML.
on your talking point that you guys are saying that the extension was only because of COVID. It's a COVID extension and COVID is over, so they shouldn't extend it anymore. And that's a lie. Why do you think they're saying that now?
Are you talking about how they're saying the government's too bloated post-COVID?
No, that's not what they're saying. They're saying that they don't know why the Democrats are making such a big deal about this ACA extension, because this was only a COVID extension because we went through this moment in time where we had to have it. But now COVID is over, the extension should not be extended.
You know, I think I heard Mike Johnson that like a couple of times.
That is wild. Yeah.
I don't understand what COVID got to do because the ACA's been out for a long time.
Exactly.
So
I'm
that doesn't
glad
make
that you're
sense.
catching on to how much.
It's like a catch on. It's just only you guys are only the left side of your brain works. I actually have a full brain that works on both sides. And Mike P.
I don't know about that.
That's a lie.
Once in a while, you will break it up.
Again, are you lying?
You watch Fox News this week on the other hand.
It's a fully smooth brain. That's what it is. Fully smooth.
Yeah, okay. No one listening to you, translucent guy.
Actually, you probably don't even know what a smooth brain
But
is.
you want to be closer to whiteness than anybody else on it, but you're calling somebody trans.
No, hold on.
I don't get
Hold on.
you,
You guys, hold on.
I don't
This
get
is
you.
what you guys let the translucent disrespect.
For real though, bro.
You guys let the translucent disrespect, but let Monica or somebody else come here and disrespect
You
y'all.
sound retarded when you keep saying.
But y'all let these white people disrespect us. Don't tell me about your black.
Shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. I did.
Why you kick him down?
I did because he shouldn't have said that shit. I did. We got to moderate at some point, right? Like you can't have us as moderators and then limit us. Like you got to be nice though. Like sometimes they need to shut the fuck up.
I agree with that a little bit.
I agree with that a lot of bit.
You know what I don't understand is they're supposed to be winning. They remind us every day they're winners. Why are they whining about everything? Are they acting like winners? Or do they seem to be defeated?
Yeah, but we seem happier than them. We seem happier than them.
And keep bringing up past presidents. Why you keep bringing up Biden and Obama? Like, it's so weird.
Well, the funny
They
thing
don't
is
want to
that
talk about Trump.
Omari was like, "Oh, we come in peace today." Yeah.
They can't talk about
Remember,
Trump.
they never come in peace.